speaker, Shazia ma'am, Shazia Ilmi. In a panelist, we have uh, Roshio Menza, Vineet Saival, Nadia Sanchez Gomes, and Aman. Okay, thank you. Uh, Before starting the session, lead speaker will get 15 minutes and panelist member will have 5 minutes for the presentation. After that, question answer session and the conclusion part. Okay, that will be the uh, yes. Okay.
So let me also be a speaker as well as a panelist on this, and I'll kind of semi-moderate it if you don't mind, to ensure that all of us get time to speak. Now, when we talk about youth being aversive to politics or not, or averse to politics, um, we're actually looking at a huge section of society. We're looking at, if you look at the demographics, India, for instance, has a massive, big young population, and they have a right to vote. They also have a right to be leaders. So I think it will be such a waste if we don't engage youth leaders enough to be a part of body politic to create transformation. I'm going to go to each one of you, and then I'll come and I'll give the answer. What do you think? What makes youth different, let's say, to maybe people older than them, when it comes to transformation, an idea of changing or getting into transformative politics? First, you, Vineet.
Thanks, Shazia. If I talk about the transformation of the politics, the social media is playing a very crucial part in Indian politics because most of the time, even if it's a IT professional working for some NGOs, charity organization, or working for some MNC, they definitely get time to get engaged themselves in a social media, and by that they are bringing a change to the Indian politics. They are bringing their ideas, their thoughts up front, because earlier in an older generation there is no platform like that, so whatever people are thinking they are discussing with their family and relatives. But now in today's scenario they have platform to show what they want in their society, what kind of changes they want, and what kind of things they are lacking, their society is lacking, and what are the pros and cons of that. So I think youth is already engaged in the politics and very actively. At least for last 3 4 years I have seen the changes. Means even if you are vice president of a MNC, you will definitely devote few minutes or few couple of hours of your life to the nation, discussing about the current affairs of the country. I think this is a major transformation India is going through.
Yes. Over to you, the gentleman.
Okay, can you please ask the question again?
Yes. So, how does, when you look at different age groups,
Hmm.
how is youth most suited or eligible for transformational politics?
Great.
You know, youth they say the nature of youth is such that it is more idealistic than others. There is more innocence. There is also more idealism. There's also more anger. So, what do you think? How do you think it's different from other age groups and most suited to look at politics of transformation?
Great. So, my name is Israel Munoz. There's a bit of a mix-up in my name wasn't on the brochure, but I'm an American student. I study mathematics and economics in New York City, and I was a youth activist in politics when I was in high school. Um, so I think the primary difference between adults in politics and youth in politics, of course, is that we're more idealistic, but that's because we see the failures that are in place because of the older people who hold political office. Right now, we're in an election season in the United States, and among young people, probably the most popular candidate is one named Bernie Sanders, right? And he's advocating for free education. Right now, access to education in the United States, a college education. Anybody could get it. Anybody could go to college as long as you're accepted. But we have a lot of student debt. Um, Me in particular, I have $40,000 in student debt, and many students graduate with that which holds them back. So we see the failures in the society that we have, and we're very idealistic because we want to change that. We're going to inherit the society that is set up for us. Um, so I think that young people look at refreshing ideas, such as free education, and really, really try to uphold them, organize politically, and hope to make those ideas a reality.
Israel, just a counter question. I mean, it's for me. So, I mean, if I were to be in the US right now, Bernie
Mhm.
Sanders would be my candidate too.
That's great
pretty
to
much,
hear.
pretty
Feel
much.
the burn.
Yeah, but it's very fascinating because look at his age, and he's a youth icon, so to speak. I mean, not being youthful himself, but
Mhm.
youngsters wanting him. How do you explain that?
I think Bernie Sanders has been very consistent in his politics ever since he was young. When he was in college, he was involved in the civil rights movement. People would say he's part of the left in the United States politics, and that really resonates with a lot of us. Consistently, Bernie Sanders has held views that are in line with the views of young people. He wants to make college free. He wants to ensure that young people have access to quality jobs. Right now, a college degree does not guarantee you a well-paying job. The American dream that, is the image that is portrayed of America is crumbling. We graduate with that, and when we see a candidate, when we see a candidate who really speaks to our troubles, it's really going to invigorate youth in politics. And more so now with all of the access to technology, social media is playing a big role. 5, 10 years ago, if we had a candidate like Bernie Sanders, he would not have as much attention as he does today, and that's because youth finally see a candidate that speaks to their values, and the youth are propelling him through social media and things like that.
Great. Nadia, the same question essentially. We're talking about youth being averse to politics. What has been your experience, and how is youth different from other age groups and more suited for idealistic politics, and politics of transformation, anti-status quo politics, so to speak?
Hello, I'm come from Colombia. I'm co-founder Chase Foundation and the Ibero-American Women Network and the group Youth Americas Network. So in Colombia, I give one example for your question. Is the Americas Youth Network is an example of a new form of doing politics. It's a comprised by manifestations of youth movements from all over the continent, ranking from Argentina to Canada, with no discrimination of age, races, political ideologies. They all working for raising awareness. Yes, in each country's government, if the importance of youth politicals. For example, for the women is really challenge in the politics. So I would like to say the most important difference in different age is not the age, it's how participate in these activities, how we create a new models. And I give a good example in Colombia or other countries in Latin America is the Youth Americas Network. We working now, we create a new models, recommendations about policies, about the education, social inclusion, but is participation with the partners, with the government. The other difference with another countries is exactly this. No difference with another countries because all young people need to participate in create a new models in politics. Uh, a good example, in other hand, is Ibero-American Women Network because for us it's a challenge to participate in political movements, participate in another countries with like create new models for politicals is very complicated. So we need to think, know what is the difference, the age or the countries or the race or the system politics, is how you create a new models for participation in the government, and we create a good movements, humanity and political person.
Well, thank you for that, and I really agree with you. I really think more than uh, activism being younger, it's very important as to what is the nature of that activism, like you were saying. And I really think there's an English saying, right? Handsome is what handsome does. Youth is what youth does. So if we've had a lot of leaders even earlier, if you look at Singapore's Lee Kuan Yew and Mahathir Mohamad, who are much, much older, but stood for different kind of politics. So you don't have to be necessarily young. In India, we have a huge problem with dynastic, politics. So you have a lot of sons and daughters of important people in the parliament. They're there not because they're great young leaders, but only because they're sons and daughters of important people there. So I don't know how representative it is of youth, so to speak. My next question would be really about the various, we saw what happened in the Arab Spring, how people got together in India, and I was part of these two revolutions that you saw. First was the Anna Hazare movement, which was an anti-corruption movement. I was a founder, campaigner, and a member of that whole group. And then there was this other movement that happened for gender rights when a woman got raped. And a lot of youngsters were out, and it was amazing to see men participate equally with women to protest against the brutality that this young woman suffered and was killed. Of course, she was raped and brutalized and killed, but also to stand up for each other. So, in that sense, there was a certain newness that we saw on the streets of Delhi or in India. But we saw sooner or later, same old politics intervened, and nothing really changed. It was you think you can make a difference, but after some time, the larger system pervades. So, what are the suggestions as young leaders yourselves to keep the youth engaged, to keep getting more and more people out, to keep the inspiration going, so to speak? What would be your methods? What would you do, for instance, how would you reach out to maybe more youngsters, people in schools and colleges to take more interest? What is your take on it?
Thanks, Shazia, for this question. Actually, if I speak for my thoughts, so it is going to have more and more interactive sessions like this, not on the politics, regarding education, regarding your social culture, your religion, and everything. Because if I talk about the society and the religion, there is a vote bank politics in India. So when it comes for the vote banks, it's in the, between the among the leaders, but they use the religion to play the vote bank politics. And the point is, there is no interactive session, there is no exchange of knowledge between two or three religions. They are really cut off from each other. They do not understand each other. They do not celebrate each other. There is few percentage of people, like 10 or 15%, who appreciate other religion, but other part is totally vote bank. They even are not ready to learn anything new. They are not ready to adapt anything